product where you can actually improve your credit score. And we also offer like a credit card for like, that's a slightly different user segment. And that's like no fees and you get cash back on stuff. But anyway, yes, very cool, interesting. And we have a iOS app and a Android app, all native, and recently a web experience. So that's me. Oh, and I used to work, prior to that, I worked at BNZ, apologies to everybody, and also prior to that, I worked other places around if we cross paths again. Apologies, I know I was a bit of a stickler in code review, lol. But about me, personally, I have a small child, redacted of course, and a medium-sized dog, also redacted, and they're not really friends right now, but we'll get there hopefully. But yeah, so what does this talk about? And again, you're going to get a sense that I really struggled to come up with a title. Like when I pitched it to Dean, I was like, oh yeah, I'll just spend like maybe a minute and just show you some interesting like debug stuff that I think is cool. But the more I thought about it, the more I was like, it's kind of quite specific to the problems we have at Tilt, like the sort of internal challenges we have. And so I thought maybe the theme is more like take inspo from this, but like maybe the takeaway is like come away from this and think. God, I'm still struggling. Come away from this and think like, what are challenges we have internally that maybe we can like solve with software the same way you'd solve for your customers? Like treat your like internal colleagues and peers and yourself kind of as your user. And yeah, so I guess that's that. And the other thing I think, or the other layer there is like historically if you're like automating stuff, or you know, there's a classic meme, right, of like you go to automate something and you spend like 10 hours automating something that you probably spend like, you know, a minute on for your entire life kind of thing. And so I feel like AI changes the mechanics here a bit in terms of like, if you're running some debug only code or something like a terrible script, maybe you don't care about the quality as much, maybe you can lean on LLMs. Anyway, but yes, I'll talk through some user-facing problems and then I'll kind of talk about the debug machinery that we use to solve them. I probably won't show any code. If you want to see code, I can show you at the end. If there's time, but I don't want to talk too much. But yeah, again, struggling with the title, and I think maybe it's just, maybe this is it, like, make it easy to do the right thing for your peers and yourself. Is this the title? I think this is it. Anyway, oh yes, that's right. So I do have to give a content warning, sorry. So there are 2 moments where you might, you know, gasp, because it's so exciting and sort of surprising. So I'll let you know when that happens. That would be a good time to sort of listen. But you can tune out till then if you want. That's all good. Yeah, so the first problem, everyone's favourite. I know this is why you all came, right? Talk about analytics. Okay, how do I track this? So, as I said, our app has been around for a while, and like anything for a while, like stuff ends up kind of inconsistent, and we have new starters or people in the business, like they want to try and understand how does the product work. And so what this ends up happening is people go in, they like either try and create funnels in our tooling, or they like go and look at the events that fire. They're like, oh, what's the actual onboarding flow look like? What does it look like in terms of events? What's our conversion like? Blah blah blah. And so what ends up happening is this over and over. I don't know how easy that is to read, but the basic is pulled from Slack. Just people asking, what is the event? What is the event? Just over and over and over. And I don't know how many of these there are, so I don't want to. Oh, too far. Too far. Anyway, yeah, there are lots of events, right? So often they'll ask, how do we track this? Blah blah blah. And again, the naming's inconsistent, all that jazz. And you throw AI into the mix, because this is like a thing the company's obviously pushing. And the question changes from like, when does this event fire, or how do I track this, to ChatGPT says it fires here, like, is this right? And functionally it's the same thing for us or for me, right? Which is, either I know and I go and check, or I don't know and then, you know, oh, I do know and it's the thing. Anyway, we also document some of our analytics events, but this, it gets out of date, like, that battle is kind of lost, I think, at our company. And also people just don't go and read it. So either I'm pointing them to documentation, or I'm just telling them like, hey, the login event fires when you log in, etc. They're not all that straightforward for context. And what else? No, that's it, I think. So that's one thing to keep in your pocket. So analytics, a bit woeful. Again, I've got to blast through these. Sorry, you might enjoy reading. I don't know. The next thing I want to talk about is experimentation, and this is related. Trust me, we're building to something. So we run like quite a few experiments at Tilt. This isn't a brag. This is just a thing, and we release like twice a week. And so we have lots of opportunities to get stuff into prod. Great, but unfortunately, and like multiple times, it's like a recurring meme is like we basically like fuck up the tracking. And so, oops. I went backwards. Oh dear. Okay, sorry, I've got to read these all again. It's like he didn't practice. I did. Yeah, just over and over. We basically, like, imagine you're tracking an experiment, and obviously you care about comparing the control to a variant, right? And just picture you didn't track the control. So you know the variant's performing, you're like, oh cool, users are making it through the funnel. But, oh shoot, we forgot to track the control. So this has happened like multiple times, or we accidentally like fire the sort of start of the experiment event multiple times. So you read your results, you're like, oh great, plus 10%. And you're like, oh actually I'm not looking at uniques, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so the theme here is tracking. And again, you might think, well, okay, big shot, like you release twice a week, it's not that big a deal. What does it actually mean? Sometimes like, that like sets you back like a whole week, do you know what I mean, before you notice it. And that can be the difference of like reaching like statistical significance. This is an experiment we ran like over the weekend. Like 3 variants, like 50% exposure. It's quite high in the funnel, so we get lots of people in it. And like this is enough for us to like determine like experiment statistical significance for the thing we're trying to detect, the like power or whatever. And like if you sort of multiply those faux pas over the year, over the quarter, it can cumulatively like add up to like a bit of a sad tale. And of course, whenever you ship an experiment, you're obviously excited, you like want to see the results. And it's always a bit of a bummer to be like, oh, you're sorry for what I fucked up the tracking. Anyway, so you might think at this point, well, okay, just test it. Obviously just test it, right? And the answer is we did, but there's quite a bit of friction to test it. Like often from the QA side, they go into their like proxy of choice, and like proxy in our case, the calls to segment, and like it's all batch, so you have to kind of scrub through and see, and search. And again, it's hard to see at the time. And maybe as a developer, you plug in and you look at your logs, and you sort of see it, see it as it happens. But again, we just kept having these unforced errors. So I think we're here. Prepare to gasp if you want to sort of collectively do some breathing. And unfortunately, I didn't plug this in beforehand, so just bear with me. Take some suspense and talk amongst yourselves. I guess I could talk while I do this. Oh no, my notes. Oh, don't read the notes. Oh no, there I am again. That's what you wanted, right? That's the demo, it's just me. Yes, allow. Headphones, other device, definitely. Cool, can you see that? Let's just try and, I'll just do that. Cool. So, here's our app. Very nice. Oh, good, there's a network connection issue. That's great. Oh, perfect. Am I on? Oh, it's because I don't have Wi-Fi. I'm so dumb. Okay, one sec. I mean, I could still show you with that, but it's not ideal. Let me just, can I have multiple devices on the hotspot? I guess we'll find out. Looks like actually. Oh, yes. Can you tell I don't work from an office? Lol. All right, so we're in the app, and this is quite a fun one to show like new starters, because they installed the app for our test flight. We're pretty like hot on like getting people to dog food stuff, because like it's a great way to get free QA, lol. And so often you'll jump on a call and you're like, oh, you just like shake your device, and they're like, what? You're like, you just give it a shake, like what, physically the phone, and you do it, and then, wow, look at that. You can gasp at that. Oh, it's very laggy, sorry, okay, that's good. Well, anyway, I'm dragging it around with my finger. It's basically like a little floating debug pane. Picture like the iPad picture-in-picture, but much, much worse. And basically, as you navigate around the app, and this is very slow, sorry. Okay, well, imagine it's super responsive and you can kind of see the events as I do stuff here. And you can see we track a lot. God, don't tell anyone. But imagine you're like, you're testing for your pull request, maybe you're recording a video. The code reviewer can just see it live, do you know what I mean? They can see it in line, they can drill into the events, that sort of jazz. They can get confidence that I've actually tested my stuff. And same for QA, they can quickly sanity check, oh yeah, cool, we did actually track the experiment start. And what's quite nice is, if you imagine I go through my onboarding funnel, which I won't do live, because there's no reason to punish you. The product team can just see like, oh yeah, cool, these events fire in this order. They can see properties, there's different scenarios. In fact, you can see there I triggered a new event. That's good, it's live testing. Anyway, that's the analytics. So, let me see if I can reconnect to this. What's up next? In-memory caching. Nice. Oh, get out of the way. There you go. Can you see that, hopefully? Sorry, I'm just going to try and reconnect to this. See if it works. Yeah, nice. Oh dear. Right, so next up, and again, I know it's hard to come off the high of seeing that really amazing debugging feature. I'm just going to give you some context about our app. So we're pretty light on business logic. Like most of the stuff lives on server. Like, don't repeat this outside this room, but we are really just a JSON. We just read JSON, edit JSON. Like all of that's basically it. There's nothing too spicy. And so as you can imagine, we're very chatty to the back end. And so naturally we like cache a bunch of stuff to basically make that a bit nicer, right? And memory, no offline caching, which just makes stuff easier for us. And in practice, that lets us model screens such that they know how to like load themselves. So imagine you want to like show a screen, you can kind of drop it in anywhere you want and like kind of plug it into different coordinators if you need to. And the nice part there is it just kind of, you don't have to worry about like preloading data beforehand. And this has other things we can go into at the end if people are interested, just hit me up. But each screen loads itself, but of course that means each screen needs to probably have some cache handling and that sort of jazz, and some sort of fancy thing where if we have the cache, we don't show a loader, it sort of just nicely shows up, but again, you can reload it if you need to, blah, blah, blah. But when we talk about caching, of course, you might then immediately think, well, okay, when does the cache get invalidated? And this is like, for a while, it's like a major source of bugs for us. Like we'd sort of accidentally do some mutation that like invalidates data and then forget to update the cache. Forget to invalidate the cache, so that the screens kind of depended on that, wouldn't refresh. Very sad, and it would like waste QA's time because they'd be like, oh, is it a server issue? Is it a client issue? So I guess, I didn't really, sorry, I'm gonna have to show my screen again. What a pain, what a pity. Let me just unlock this. So because we use some shared abstraction, this isn't, you don't need to gasp at this one, by the way, this is table stuff. I didn't even show you this part. You can like shrink it down as well into a cute little ball. Whoa, exciting. I'll make it big as well. So we have this cache state, and I guess it's better actually when it's small. It's really hard to make small actually. Oh, great. As I like, anyway, imagine as I move around the app, stuff's like changing. Basically, this is like a live snapshot of like what the app thinks is in memory, and it uses Swift's very average reflection tools. I don't know how easy this is to see, but basically you can go and interrogate like, hey, what's the server response? Does this match? And so QA can kind of like self-serve in this case and make it easier for them to clock this style of bug. Cool, so that's that one. We are getting there. Can you see that hopefully? Yeah. To talk about everything there, yeah, nice. This is something I would definitely recommend you do, and if you don't do it, like this is like really low-hanging fruit. It'd make your life much easier, I think. Is we just have a lot of like simulated shortcuts. Like so often I'm like, and by the way, our app you have to like log in to do basically anything. So often I'm like, oh, I need to log out, I need to change user, just Control Q, perfect, logged out, easy. Another one I quite like is the like what am I? So like imagine you're like new in a code base and you're like, oh, I see the screen, like what is it? You can just hit Control U. I don't know what I'm telling you that you're not going to type the shortcut. Anyway, hit Control U, and we just pop a little toast with the current type. Which is really quite nice, and you'll see more of this later. What else? Oh yes, again, this is like helping, and again, your results may vary. This is kind of specific to us, I think, because we have lots of different user scenarios, but again, I suppose I can show you. We have, like imagine you've just started at the company and you want to test the app, or like someone named Max has like pestered you and be like, hey, please Godfrey the app. And you're like, okay, great, but how do I even find users? You can come here to go help. And I can either just create a user and log me in, like fresh off the bat, or we can ask the server for some test scenarios. User with active cache advance, for example, and you can see some great names here. And then bam, I'm in. Do you know what I mean? So it's, oh great, thanks. Cool. Yes, that's quite nice, I think. And again, something that sort of helps make things easier, and you can sort of answer that question. And that came from just people repeatedly asking how do we test with different users. And okay, I showed it there, cool. This one, okay, so I'm building up again, so just prepare, this is a good time to start inhaling. So Swift previews, great, love them. For the way our code is structured, they don't work super well for like actual screens. Like we use them for components, and you can see in that little average screenshot there, one of our different like, oh, it's hard to see, but anyway, bunch of components there. But for like actual flows and stuff, because of how, without just airing dirty laundry about my company, we have like a lot of dependencies. And so, as you can see there, it takes like 40, oh, you can't see it, can you? 43 seconds for a Swift preview to build sometimes. It's the first build, but still not ideal. And I've got a pretty nice machine. And so we sort of had this, and the other thing was, oh, hang on. The other thing was, it's the wrong phone. The other thing is working, oh yeah, cool, oops, too far. We also support like back to iOS 15 RIP, and we can't drop them because it's like 15K a month from these users, which is fine. It's sort of like representing the value debate, I think, which is all good. But it meant that like often, I don't know if you'll find this, but like people will like do changes, and they'll often just test on whatever simulator they have open. And so I'll go to like test my change. I'm like, oh, haha, it doesn't work on iPhone SE actually. You know, it's on the small screen. And so with this, we sort of thought, well, what can we do? And we took inspiration from everyone's favorite web browser, Google Chrome. We just prepared a gasp, okay. And this is something allow. Oh, don't read my notes, All right. I don't think you will have seen this before, but if you have, I mean, one of you has, because I've shown it to you, but don't judge my iPad too much. What if we just play Balatro now? So would that be fun? Okay, so I'm just going to show. I don't need to make a bunch of fanfare. So classic. Okay, you can gasp now, but also I'm not on the instant. Dramatic reveal ruined. Nobody tell my wife. Okay, here we go. Low data mode, that's good. A little spoiler there as well. Come on, yes, great. Yeah, thank you for the gasp, that was very generous. But basically, as you can see here, we've got a beautiful panel on the right. I can drag up from the bottom. Oops, oh god, it's so awkward on actual device. You can see non-fatals. Oh god, who built this? Cache, as I do stuff, I should have shown that later, shouldn't I? Okay. Yeah, anyway, getting flustered now, that's all right. But you can see we've got some tools on the right, so again, you can find a user, you saw that before. We've got, again, I've seen this lots of places, I've definitely stolen from prior inspo, but you can go and change your feature flag values without having to go and change it for everybody, and all your experiments. Don't look at the actual titles, that's sort of redacted. And we've got some also dev-only things, like if we want to, do little levers so it's easier for product to dog food a certain flow. And again, we've got little scenarios at the bottom, so I could go and skip down funnel if I want to, I won't. And again, the analytics are all here live. You might also see this little network thing. You might think, why did you build that? And the answer is because I can, and because we have unlimited tokens with Claude, so it's fine. And then I'm building up something, don't worry, but there's a view hierarchy. So again, I don't want to pause the app. I can just see a little history of where I went, in the past, and sort of a live view of the current situation, which is quite nice. Anyway, let me just log in here. Should I log in, or should I no, I'll just do it here? I don't know why I'm making such a big deal out of this. Anyway, you've probably seen it up here. What do you think happens if I tap here? Oh, what? How does he do it? What's up his sleeve? Anyway, basically it lets you quickly simulate a given screen, plays ball, and you can see the keyboard really isn't happy, but basically lets you simulate different devices without having to relaunch. This is basically what this whole talk led up to, was me just showing this because I think it's cool. And yeah, that's kind of it really, honestly. It's quite a nice way to test. And again, it makes it easy for people to do the right thing, i.e. my colleagues and myself, to test the right, basically verify your layout works on iPhone SE, because there's no way I'm gonna launch that simulator all the time. But yeah, so anyway, I'll go back to the slides now. Oh, I guess I could show, no, that's probably, I could show you this is pretty, anyway, you can see responses in line. The reason this is useful is because you might think, oh, Max, have you heard of a proxy? And the answer is yes. But when I run the backend locally, it's all over the VPN, and I can't get the proxy to work with the VPN. And you can use something like ngrok, but it's just easy to have it here on the device. So we'll probably bring that to the phone as well. And of course, there's all this stuff. You can resize that. This doesn't really work, but yeah. Anyway, without further ado, welcome to the end. Thank goodness he's done. That's it. And you can just build shit now. Again, if you've got a lot of this, this iPad thing, all the swizzling was AI generated, because I can't remember how to write that. And it doesn't really matter because it's not going to prod. Yeah, so any questions? Probably not. Yeah. Yuri, in the back.
How long did it take to build the whole thing?
The iPad thing?
Yeah.
That was a couple of evenings, honestly, just poking around with Claude, and then maybe a day of actually being oh, I need to understand how this works and unpick it.
How does it simulate the size description?
I'm glad you asked. So it's basically, maybe it's useful to see it. I've just put it away here. It's basically two windows. So there's a window here, and then I go and swizzle all of the safe area insets, and then on top I draw Chrome, just there's another window on top. It's sort of this. And then this part, it's similar to the floating debug thing, is basically it detects are you tapping here? Put it forward the touch to the app, don't pass hit testing, otherwise do it here. We're probably going to change this, because as you saw when I tried to demo this little debug guy at the bottom is extremely awkward on device to actually use. So we'll probably make it more this will probably be floating in the future. But just got to find the time. Also, what I didn't show you, you'll see I have rotation lock, is if I do this, it doesn't really like me rotating it. I actually didn't do too bad, but the other day a colleague of mine was oh, the layout's clipping, but actually he was just running on a really small iPad, and I didn't really build it for that, so lol. Debug does cost money, but yeah, no good question. Anyone else? Otherwise I'll release you.
Do you tend to run it on an iPad simulator?
Yeah, usually. Yeah.
I was kind of wondering if it was a long way to get in your company to give everybody iPads.
It's funny because that actually did come up, because this is a work device. They've recently started doing that. It used to be you'd have to bring your own test device, but now we're big enough that we can justify the budget, I guess. But yeah, we did talk about that'd be quite nice. Nice head.
And when you're looking at things, if you've got the network data and all of that you've got in the debug, I guess you can use the share clipboard and just copy stuff out if you need to as well.
Yeah, we should just add a copy thing, but yeah, that does work, I suppose. It's just nice if you're recording a loom or a video. I don't have to, and this is like such a paper cut to build all this, but like, imagine you want to record a video for QA or someone to show the network calls, or often the server team's like, what's the sequence of calls? I don't have to like align the simulator with, you know, proxy man, and then like do the video recording and
Just
stuff
record
like that.
straight from the simulator.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you can put a pretty border on it because we use like Rocket Sim and stuff. Yeah, no, I rate it A. Obviously we made it, so I rate it. Yeah. That's so funny. How far will I go to not record two windows anyway? Thanks for listening.
How
yeah.
easy would it be to go from, thinking about cutting out a middleman, to go from the iPad app to a Mac app? Which I imagine that like most people at the company probably have Macs. We're like a .NET house, but yeah, no, that is a good shout. We did have one for a time. Where we have issues is like, maybe Catalyst actually. That's a good shout. That's a good idea. I might write it down. Courtesy of Sam. I'll give you my rate.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, I accept the billing. That's fine. For good ideas. Yeah. Nice. Anything else? Otherwise, I'll.
That's exciting. I don't want to make a million debug screens.
It's so good, right? I was inspired by, so Chris and I worked together and we did that, you missed it before, but I showed the analytics pane, the floating thing, like tracking ahead.
Nice.
You know, I'm
Yeah.
a sucker for that stuff.
It's free time.
Yeah.
It's your own designs, no?
Yeah, exactly, and you're your own customer, you know. That was the other thing I didn't say that I meant to was, like, cause I do a lot of work in the, I did a lot of work in the onboarding funnel, so like, you know, optimizing, like, making it nice for the user to like tell a good story, make it easy for them to onboard, like, handle the edge cases, whatnot. So we've got kind of some weird stuff in onboarding. Not weird, just, anyway, I won't go into it, but never once, it's so weird, never once has a customer like messaged me and said like, oh, I love the onboarding flow, app's fine, but I love the onboarding flow, you know. But if you build shit for yourself and for your colleagues, often they'll be like, oh, this is really cool. And you're like, oh, thanks. You know? So yeah, do it for the dopamine as well, I reckon, yeah. Nice. Cool, well, thanks for listening.